Welcome to my cozy little corner. Today I have a January wrap up reading journal video for you guys today. This turned out pretty good and I had a decent reading month for January. So, first of all, I'm not going to go into super detail of like the synopsis of the books or anything like that. I have a actual January wrap up that's going to be coming out. This is just more going to be focused on my like journal for the month. So I read 8 books this month, and it was a decent reading month. I think January tends to be like the month I go like balls to the wall on like a lot of my lists. I love to make a list. Um, but I had started 2 really long books in the beginning, or I guess the end of December, thinking I was gonna finish them by the start of January. And by like the fifth, I wasn't done yet, and I ended up abandoning both of those books, and then just starting the year with a pretty like fun. Fun's not the word. A romance. Starting the year off with a romance. This month was better towards the end than it was in the beginning, and I'll get to why. Um, but yeah, so I just used my little sticker paper to stick up all the books that I read this month. And as you can see, I used my iPad to get my Goodreads to track. I didn't really fill out, like, I didn't do this calendar thing last year in my last journal, but I actually really like the way that it turns out. And I said this when I set it up, but I thought it would be kind of fun just to see, like, have a visual representation of every month. So I do think I'm going to keep doing this. I do really like it. Um, yeah. I tried to put those books in order, but it should have been switched. Stormfront, which is the first book in Dresden Files, should be switched with Before We Were Yours, but it's fine. And you'll see that Hamnet and I think Homeseeking were the two that took me the longest. All of the other ones I read pretty quickly. And then I did not put that One Piece volume on here because technically, so that's an omnibus, and technically I'm reading them by like chapters on like the Shonen Jump app, but I've just kind of have it set up to where I can see which volumes are what. And when I finish the omnibus, I don't like checking off volumes, but the omnibus feels a little bit better. I don't know, because it's longer, I guess. But yeah. So just filling up my calendar, just filling up my calendar. And you'll see everything that I do, the star rating, when I actually do the individual ones. I just got really lazy and figured you'd see it when I get there. Okay, so this was the first book that I read this month. This was Long Shot by Kennedy Ryan. To be honest with you, I don't really know how I feel about this book, and I am trying to decide if I want to keep going with the series. Um, so Long Shot by Kennedy Ryan is basically a basketball romance series. The first one being called Long Shot. I think the whole series is called Hoops, if I'm not mistaken. I have read Kennedy Ryan before. I've read Real by Kennedy Ryan, and I loved Real. Oh my god, I actually read Real around the same time, actually, last year, and I really liked Real. I just don't know how I feel about Long Shot. Here's the thing about Long Shot. It feels less of a romance. Like, there's definitely a romance, and I would say probably my biggest critique is the insta love. But for the story that she was clearly trying to tell, it makes sense. Like, the insta love makes sense. Didn't love it though. Didn't love the insta love. I do think that this was a very important story, and unless you've read it, you're not gonna know what I'm talking about, because all I can say is like check your trigger warnings, because this feels way less about a insta love romance, basketball romance, and more about trauma. I guess is the best way I can put that. Again, I'm just trying to keep it spoiler free, but if you check the trigger warnings, you'll probably know exactly what I mean. They don't get together until way, way towards the end because most of the book is more about the FMC's experience that she's going through. And I don't know. Like I said, I do feel like it's important. I just can't decide if I liked it. I have read uncomfy books before. I think my issue is when a book that has really heavy topics is advertised as a romance. Like, this is supposed to be a romance. There's an FMC, there's an MMC, and that's not to say that like romances can't hit on heavy things, but I think you just expect something different. And like, I checked the trigger warnings, I knew all this was coming. I just wasn't expecting the pacing, which is basically like they don't get together until the end. And I don't really feel like that's a spoiler. Sorry guys. I don't really think that's a spoiler only because the one thing you do know about a romance is that they get together at the end. Um you just don't know how. Uh but yeah, I ended up giving this 3.5. I am still iffy on whether or not I'm going to continue the series. I always like to have a romance series, specifically a series that I'm reading in between all of my heavy books or my heavy like fantasy, because I do tend to read a lot of heavy books. Um, so we'll see. I might end up picking up this second book in this series because I am actually interested because of the character. I am actually interested to see like how it goes. And the third one actually sounds really good too because I like the character that's in the third one. So I don't know. We'll see. And then also because this is a journaling video, I chose the like purples. I found those scraps in my like journaling box. I have a box of like paper, just like journaling scraps and paper, and they match the covers so beautifully. So I definitely got lucky there. But yeah, overall I give it a 3.5 stars. Because I do think it was well written. I just don't know if I had fun, if I'm being honest. And that's typically what I look for in a romance. Oh, and also when I say like they don't get together and I'm talking about their pacing issues, I literally mean I think I was at the 75% mark when I realized they had only met 3 times. So I guess because I kind of want to be a little bit more clear. I don't really feel like I'm being clear enough what I mean by like not having fun. I don't mind hitting on heavy topics in romance novels, but I would say I think the entire focus was the heavy topic, and I don't feel like you ever got like sweet moments or cute moments. Like, a lot of the moments were very rushed and happened at the end, and so it was like 70% of it was just it was trauma and then more trauma and then got worse, and then you were expected to now be head over heels for this romance when I feel like there was honestly zero build up to their romance because it was so focused on her. um but I can understand how people can love it. That's why I'm conflicted. So the next page, I just decided to do like short reviews. I don't do big pages for every single one. Um, Mostly series I haven't finished, I always do a little review, and then books that I just feel like I don't have too much to say or don't have the energy to do a collage. I tend to do them like this. So first, I'm gonna start with the first book in the Dresden Files. I believe I gave it 3 stars. Yeah, it's very dude bro. I can understand. So my boyfriend's really obsessed with the series, and I kind of wanted to give it a try. Because I love urban fantasy, and you can't escape Dresden Files if you're anywhere on fantasy book talk, booktube, whatever. Um, So, anyways, I gave it a try. It's definitely really fun. His male gaze is very hard to deal with, though. It takes me out of the story every time. I have heard it gets better. I heard it gets worse and then it gets better. So, I don't know. I think I'm just gonna keep reading until I get absolutely annoyed and then drop off. But I heard that the it gets better in general. So yeah, I gave that 3 stars. The second book on there is Before You Were Mine, or no, Before We Were Yours. Before We Were Yours. This was a really random historical fiction book I picked up. I just basically looked at what was available on audio through the Libby app. So this was a like historical fiction book that is about a real life event where a woman basically was kidnapping children in like the 30s, like poor children, and basically bringing them to like her orphanage home and like selling them. Overall, it was pretty good. It was just like a good historical fiction. Like I read it really quickly. It didn't have any issues. It was just good. It wasn't great, but it was pretty fast paced and pretty much all I needed. And then the very last one, honestly, can't really say much anyways. This is book 5. I believe, no, 4. Book 4, The Expanse. I am such a big Expanse fan. Like, it's not even funny. I am already dreading the fact that I'm getting close to the end. I am not ready to be done with this series at all. Highly, highly recommend if you want like a space opera series with like a really good like found family crew. uh Highly, highly recommend. And I believe I forgot to say, I gave Before We Were Yours 4 stars, and then I have given every single Expanse book 5 stars except for the first one so far. That was only really because um I feel like it took to the second book for me to like really love the crew. I just wasn't fully attached to everybody yet, but at this point, just the way that the series is written, with each series having different POVs that, no pun intended, like expand on different aspects of like the world when it comes to like politics and stuff like that. I just think it's so good. Yeah, I really like the fact that like we always get Holden, but then we always get a different POV, and that is like probably my favorite part of the Expanse books in general, is how the POVs really expand on the world and the like concept of like what do we do now that there's like more real estate in the universe to basically fight over. Um, so yes, those were all of those books. And I did forget to put all my stars, so I'm gonna do that now. So, moving on to the next book. As you can see, the lighting changes a few times. It's snowing right now, and I honestly didn't want to burn myself out by doing all of it at the same time. So I kind of took my time all day doing it, and the lighting changed a few times. So sorry about that. But the next book is Homeseeking by Carissa Chen, and I actually finished this book today. Um, I actually finished that and Hamnet today. And yeah, what can I say about this book? It was great. It was really, really good. This is a historical fiction book about two people who I guess they dated at like one point, and it is dual POV and dual timeline. And the like past timeline, I think it like starts in like the 1940s or the 1930s China, and you're following these two kids who like kind of grew up together, and they like start to fall in love and they have a romance. But then you go into the present tense, and it's like 2011 Los Angeles, and it is following the MMC. So the past timeline's FMC, the present timeline is the MMC. And so you're kind of getting like his story backwards, and then you're getting her story going forwards. And the structure is so cool because it basically meets in the middle. And like their stories are being told, and then once you get to the end, it's when they like is in the middle. I thought this was written so phenomenally. I thought like the historical context was really, really cool. I don't know a lot about this time period, about like the Nationalist Party and the Communist Party, and like the stuff that was going on in China around this time. Um, and I love a historical fiction that has a like romance lean, and this was exactly what I wanted. As you can see, I kind of was on a historical fiction kick. I usually am, but I'm really, really getting back into historical fictions again, and this just it pulled me in. The audiobook is phenomenal, by the way. Oh, and sidebar. So one of my favorite books of all time is Water for Elephants, and the main reason why is because it is also dual time period. And the like older or present time is him as like an older man talking about being older and being a old man. And I bring that up because this kind of does the same thing in the present tense. He is older. He's like 70 or 80, I think. And he just talks about being older and like the perspective he has on life. And I always enjoy books that have that kind of perspective and talk about that. I think it's very important, and it's just very interesting to me. So yeah, I did end up giving this book 5 stars. I highly, highly recommend it. If you like historical fiction with a romance lean at all, I know that you guys are out there. I know you guys exist. I've seen y'all. If you have not read this, read this. Highly, highly recommend Homeseeking by Carissa Chen. So the next page is going to be another like short review page, not too much decoration. And you'll notice that one of these books was not on my like main page, and that is because I did not finish it. So I got like 75% into Frederick Douglass's biography. I think it's called Prophet, something like that, but it's just his biography. And yeah, like I said, I'm like 75% into it. I'm not going to finish it until next month, but to be honest, I read it the majority in this month, so I wanted it here. I just didn't mark it as finished or put it on the finished page because I didn't finish it. Um, but I just wanted it here. And so far, I'm really, really liking it. I love a biography, and I really didn't know too much about him. What's really cool about this biography is that there is a ton of memoirs. Like, he has written so many memoirs. And what's so interesting is kind of getting a outside perspective on somebody who has studied his life from the outside and giving us the like full picture in the best way, because apparently according to this, in a lot of his memoirs he wasn't very like open about his life. Like, he talked about, like being a slave, but he didn't really talk about his personal life and the things around his personal life. um that affected him and stuff. And that was what was so cool about this, was like I said, just this outside perspective. Um, yeah, it was really good. And if you have any wanting to like know about this time period or know anything about him, he's a very interesting person. He also fought for um the women's right to vote as well. Very, very, very well written book, really good audio, just very, very long. And the other book that's on this page is a classic called Passing. Oh my good lord, this book was so good. I read it in one day. Oh, it was so good. This is a classic that was written in the 20s that's basically about two black women who one decides to pass, and like pass to the point where she doesn't tell anybody. Like, everyone just assumes she's white, including like her husband she marries. And then the other woman, she doesn't like, she allows herself to pass on certain situations, but she doesn't claim to be a white woman. And this is a very fast-paced book that I was not expecting it to be so fast-paced. I honestly could not put it down. And if you want a quick classic you can read in a day, less than a day, that um isn't like too hard to read, I highly recommend this. Passing by Nella Larson, which I believe I gave 4 stars to. Okay, so I think this is the last spread, and this is Hamnet. Hamnet had to get a whole 2-page spread. It just had to. Um, this book, honestly, if you've been on like Book Talk at all, or really have been watching TV because the movie, um, Hamnet has been everywhere, and for a good reason. This is a book that is following Shakespeare's family, more really focused on Shakespeare's wife. It doesn't mention him by name, so which I really love, because it kind of just gives you a perspective of like on him, and like not on him but like on his family, without really focusing too much on like what he did. It treats him more like a man than an icon, which I really appreciated. This book has one of the best writing styles ever. Oh my god. I was highlighting just quotes and I ran out of tabs like really quickly. It's that good. The writing is just very lyrical. I was listening to it immersion reading it, and it just literally felt like listening to music. Oh, I didn't want to put it down. I do have a full vlog for this coming out probably next week, so I'm going to leave my thoughts pretty vague. And I'm just gonna talk about the actual spread and not the book. So on this page, I just used some scrapbook paper to kind of like frame out the page. And I've talked about this before, but I love a frame out. I just think it makes the page look so crispy. I have this washi from journalsay, I think. Yeah, journalsay. And those little frames also come from journalsay, as well as all my stickers as well, except for the pictures I've printed, of course. Um, Basically, I just look up hand knit aesthetic on Pinterest and then just find the ones I like and print them on sticker paper. I really don't know if you can notice, but I really love a like scrapbooky collage. For a really long time, I was one of those people who like used the Pinterest collage tool, and anytime I finished a book made like a collage, I just loved it. And so when I started my reading journal, I wanted to basically just make a physical version of that. Which I'm gonna do all my writing after I finish this. I just don't really like my handwriting, so I didn't want too many people to see it, if I'm being honest. But anyways, so that washi tape is from Journal Say, and I knew instantly that that washi tape was gonna be my frame out. There is a heavy, 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 heavy theme of nature in this story. So I tried to find all the stationery I had that was nature based. And I really just went with my intuition here and tried to figure out where to put everything. And that's usually how it goes, anyways. But yeah, so that's my journal spread. I don't know if I said I did give this book 5 stars. I think if you are like me and maybe you didn't read it because you get hateritis, I really do think it's worth it. I really do think it's really good writing. I think the commentary on womanhood, on motherhood, on grief, on all of those things is really well written and very much worth it. It has a couple very like experimental chapters that I very much enjoy. Um, and yeah, that's Hamnet. I did give it 5 stars. So yeah. So those were all of my spreads. I'm just gonna give you a little flip through. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I have more journaling videos to come. I am currently setting up for February, so you guys will be getting that video of the setup for February soon. And please like, subscribe, tell me what you read this month that you really, really enjoyed. And thanks for watching, you guys, and yeah, bye.